most brilliant commander in the Soviet Navy.
Rainey has trained most of their officer corps. He's nearly a legend in the submarine community.
The most deadly submarine ever built.
This thing could park a couple of hundred warheads off Washington. Nobody'd know a thing about it until it was all over.
And once more, we play our dangerous game with our old adversaries, the American Navy.
His plan is a mystery. A man with your responsibilities reading about the end of the world.
Apparently, he suffered a kind of nervous breakdown in which he announced his intention to fire his missiles on the United States. He wants to help you hunt him down, kill him.
Open the outer doors, firing point procedures. We sail into history.
I'm going to blow him right to Mars.
Rainey's might be trying to defect. You're just an analyst. What can you possibly know what goes on in his mind? I'll give you 3 days to prove your theory correct.
I am not field personnel. I am only an analyst.
You're perfect. I'm expendable.
He's defecting. Willing to bet your life on that? From the best-selling novel by Tom Clancy. From the director of Die Hard. Give this man a chance.
My orders are specific.
Battle stations. Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, James Earl Jones, Scott Glenn, Sam Neill. The Hunt for Red October.
Directed by John McTiernan, this was his first film after Die Hard. And like I said, this is the first movie based off of Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan series. There's really not much more I could say about this movie that hasn't already been said about it. It's not only a great action movie, it's one of the best spy thrillers ever. One of the best submarine movies ever made. There's actually a number of good submarine movies if you really think about it. Das Boot, Crimson Tide, U-571, even something like Down Periscope, which is a comedy, but it's a really good submarine comedy starring Kelsey Grammer. But we'll get to that one when we get to 96. But Hunt for Red October is a great movie. Sean Connery playing the Soviet captain who goes rogue is great. Alec Baldwin playing Jack Ryan is really good. You also have Scott Glenn, James Earl Jones, Sam Neill. You also saw in there guys like Jeffrey Jones from Beetlejuice. Tim Curry's also in this movie. Who else is in here? You also have Gates McFadden from Star Trek The Next Generation in this. Great cast all around. Great movie. Just a great movie in general. Like, it's amazing what they're able to do with just the water and these submarines. Like, the thrills are very good. The movie still holds up to this very day. The visuals are very impressive. The music by Basil Polidoris is very good. The cinematography is very good. I mean, it's a great movie that really just every time you watch it, you get thrills and chills. Like, you really are invested in what's going on here and how this movie is going to pan out in the end. And I got nothing else to say, man. It's just a great movie all around. Fantastic movie. I actually do like all the Jack Ryan movies. I like the ones with Harrison Ford. Actually, I take that back. I like the 2 Harrison Ford ones. I like the one with Chris Pine, Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit, last one that came out. I even like the John Krasinski series that's on Amazon. The only one I don't like, and it's not because of Ben Affleck as Jack Ryan, it's The Sum of All Fears. That's the one that I don't like in that series. I really hated it when I first saw it in theaters. It's just not a good movie to me. I know some people like it, but I really don't like that one. But for the most part, the Jack Ryan series has been very strong. This movie is just a great movie. It's one of the best spy thrillers ever made. And they got better with the Harrison Ford movies, which we'll get to when we get to 92 and 94. But this is a great starting point. I mean, Alec Baldwin, like I said, is great as Jack Ryan. Sean Connery is great in this. It's just a great movie. Just a great action movie. If you haven't seen The Hunt for Red October, I definitely recommend you check it out. So that's my thoughts on The Hunt for Red October. So let's go ahead and move on to the second film, and that's Gerard Depardieu in Too Beautiful to Love. Or Too Beautiful for You. I knew as soon as they said the title, I thought, that wasn't right. That didn't sound right. But, like I said, this is Gerard Depardieu in Too Beautiful for You.
Meet Bernard, a BMW dealer. His loving wife, rich, pampered, and beautiful. His mistress, a new secretary at the office. Something is wrong here.
Come
est-ce possible?
Elle est belle. Elle est tarte.
Oh là 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 là!
Once again, film director Bertrand Blier explores the subjects of love and sex.
Belle, c'est peut-être pas le mot, mais sympa.
Je tape dans les doigts, il arrive. C'est mon mec. Vous pouvez pas me le prêter encore un tout petit peu. Il est bien avec moi.
Too beautiful for you.
Excusez-moi. J'ai un peu vomi sur la banquette. Je vais changer de banquette et garder mon mari.
C'est voir toutes les moments heureuses. Toutes leur affluer des fleurs.
Je viens de faire l'amour pendant 3 heures. 3 heures inoubliables. J'en ai encore des crampes nerveuses.
The hottest French comedy of the year.
Arrête, je te dis.
Mais c'est pas moi, c'est mon cul. Il répond plus aux hommes. Regarde. Il bouge tout seul.
Gérard Depardieu. Carol Bouquet. Josiane Balasco. Too beautiful for you.
I mean, the plot for this movie really is nothing all that impressive. I mean, it's something that we've seen done over and over again. But is like a handsome-looking guy has a beautiful wife, but he also has a mistress on the side, and this is just the crazy misadventures that he has, trying to deal with his relationship with his wife and also this mistress. I haven't seen it before, but the trailer didn't look that bad. I mean, it does look like it looks pretty generic, but I did get some legitimate laughs in this. I like some of the visual cinematography going on here. The editing doesn't look too bad. I mean, it looks very generic. It looks very formulaic, but everyone here looks like they're giving it their all. And like I said, there were a couple legitimately good laughs during the trailer here. So I don't know. Maybe it might be something I might check out one day. I'm not gonna rush out to see it, but thought I'd talk about it. So that is Too Beautiful for You with Gerard Depardieu.
Once upon a time, in the middle of a deep, dark factory, an average Joe Banks lived a very boring life.
Good morning, Dee Dee.
Hi, Joe. What's with the shoe?
Losing my soul.
Yeah.
Until one day, he found out his life was over.
I'm not sick except for this terminal disease.
That's right. You have some time left, Mr. Banks. Live it well.
And that's
Joe Banks?
when his adventure began.
You and I might be able to help each other. I want to hire you to jump into a volcano. A total red carpet situation. It's wine, women, and song in the sweetest little paradise you ever saw. A real journey.
Are you Joe Banks?
Yeah.
Hanks, Meg Ryan,
Joe Banks.
in the story of a man, a mountain, and a miracle.
Take me to the volcano!
He's diving! He's jumping! He's leaping!
Written and directed by John Patrick Shanley, the Academy Award-winning writer of Moonstruck.
I love you.
I love you too. I've never been in love with anybody before either. It's great. I am glad. But the timing stinks. I gotta go.
Joe versus the volcano.
Yeah, I really like Joe versus Volcano. There's a lot about this movie that works. You know, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, they work off each other really well, and it would later show in 2 other movies in the 90s. Of course, we had Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail. We'll get to those when we get to those years in 93 and 98. They just work off each other so well. Their chemistry is fantastic. And, like I said, we saw 2 other movies with them where their chemistry works so well. The film also does a very good job blending the over-the-top screwball comedy antics of the premise, and you also get these lighter, heartfelt moments that really do mesh well together with the script by John Patrick Shanley. Granted, the story can be a little disjointed at times, and there are some scenes here that are very outdated and very, like, I believe that's Nathan Lane as one of the Tiki guy. I believe it's one of the Tiki guys there as one of the, and the makeup and all that. That could go. Some people might find that a little racist, kind of, but for the time period, for what the world was like then, I guess it was okay. But nowadays it's like very outdated, like very, very outdated. But on the whole, Joe vs. the Volcano really is a fun movie. It's a solidly funny, enjoyable comedy, and you can see why it's had a cult following over the years. It's a comedy that is so over the top, so screwball silly, but it does have its heart in the right place, and I think it does have enough moments there to make it a fun experience for a lot of people. So I definitely recommend Joe vs. the Volcano. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is another comedy classic, and that is House Party.
If my pops finds out I got in trouble in school today, I'm definitely going to be on punishment. There's a party tonight at Peter's house. Can I go?
You're not going nowhere. Every little step you take will be around this bedroom tonight.
Did you hear anything about a party today? At least not any good ones.
Hello, Tawatha. Do I feel like being bothered with Tawatha? Hello, LaDonna.
Woman.
Yo, baby, you looking real good. Step off. Scandalous. Kick it, Pop.
What you got to say now, Paul?
How much more trouble can I get into?
Hey, Eraserhead.
Look, I'm in prison.
Just do me a favor. Don't pick up the soap like that fighter. I'm gonna kill it.
Yo, y'all look who fell into the game.
Hey, this ain't Soul Train.
The two finest women in here. Now, how could a man choose?
He better choose right.
Okay, so where we're on our way to? The house party. What? The house party.
Now, surprisingly, it only took us 2 months to get into the most early 1990s movie ever made, but I say that in the best positive way. House Party is a fun, it's like Joe vs. the Volcano, kind of. It's fun, it's silly, it's over the top, it's just a ton of fun, and it just fits the time period, of 1990. Like, this is what you'd expect from a movie made in 1990. Kid and Play are great in this movie. You got Robin Harrison here, a young Martin Lawrence. John Witherspoon's in this movie, along with some other notable names. It's just a fun movie. It's just a good, fun time all around. It's a movie that you can watch now, as many decades later. It'll be dated, but it'll still be a ton of fun. And I don't think any of the other House Party movies really had that same impact that this movie did. I mean, it's just a ton of fun all around. It's a fun movie. It's a good fun time all around. No matter who you are, you could watch this movie and be like, yeah, this is a lot of fun. I'm having a really good time watching this movie. It's just funny, it's silly, it's over the top, it just fits the time period, it still holds up to this very day. It's a very nostalgic movie, but it's a ton of fun. I enjoy this movie a lot. House Party, it's a fantastic film. Need I say more? Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Bad Influence.
You're successful, for God's sake. Try to relax and enjoy it.
Let him go.
I think I told you to take a hike. Why didn't you? You know that voice that you tells you what to do sometimes? Guess I listened to it today. I'm like that, and I always listen to it.
Bad influence.
More than anything else in the world. What do you want?
All he ever wanted was a bigger piece of the good life.
I think I'd be good for him.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. Now, he's about to find out that what he wants and what he's afraid of are really one and the same.
What kind of game are you playing with my life? This is my life.
He never saw it coming until it was too late.
I want you to remember one thing. You asked for this. Do you think you would have gotten any of it if it weren't for me? Now I'm gonna shoot you.
Rob Lowe. James Spader. He got everything he wanted and lost everything he had. Bad Influence.
Directed by Curtis Hanson, who would later go on to have some notable films in the decade, including The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, The River Wild, L.A. Confidential, and then do stuff like Wonder Boys and 8 Mile. Most notably, this is the first movie that Rob Lowe has done since the sex tape incident came out, where he got arrested for having sex with a 16-year-old girl when he was 24 in 1988. So, probably not the best way to start your comeback, starring in a movie where you play a character like this. But I will admit he's pretty good in the movie, as is James Spader. This is a very solid movie, a very underrated movie. The director of this, as I said, did L.A. Confidential, but this is also one of the first scripts for David Coep, who would go on to write several other noticeable movies. Also, he directed Panic Room, but he's most notable for writing stuff such as Jurassic Park, Lost World, Indiana Jones, Carlito's Way, Mission Impossible, the first Spider-Man movie. So he's done a ton of work since this movie came out in '90, and it's a fun thriller. It's very much like a Strangers on a Train type of movie. It's very neo-noirish. It's very stylistic for the time. It's a movie that is really intense and really chilling. It really keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's a really good movie. It's one I recommend if you haven't seen it already. If you want to see some great stuff from Curtis Hanson and David Coep, and want to see some of the best young work from James Spader and Rob Lowe, this is definitely the movie for you. So, Bad Influence, that's that movie right there. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is The Handmaid's Tale.
Once upon a time in the recent future, a country went wrong. The country was called the Republic of Gilead. Ecological disasters ravaged the land, resulting in civil war, political turmoil, and widespread sterility. Only a very few women could still bear children. These women were called handmaids.
I mean, if you've watched Hulu, you really don't need to know too much about what The Handmaid's Tale is. This is, of course, based off of the book by Margaret Atwood. It's more well-known nowadays because it's been a hit TV series on Hulu. It's won Emmys for Outstanding Drama Series. But this was the first feature attempt to adapt this to the big screen or the small screen. And, you know, as much as I don't like The Handmaid's Tale TV series, I'm not the biggest fan of it, even though it's just not for me. Like, I just think there are much better shows that are better than this show is, at least in my opinion. But no matter how you look at the TV series, it at least is a lot better than this movie was, because this movie really is not all that good, even though it has some pretty good talent on board. Harold Pinter wrote the screenplay. You've got a cast that includes Natasha Richardson, Faye Dunaway, Aidan Quinn, Elizabeth McGovern, Robert Duvall, and this is a movie that kind of just really doesn't really get the message and the point of the Handmaid's Tale story at all, and it just feels like a movie that they're trying to make just because it's a popular book and people will go to see it regardless of what you have to say about it. But at least with the TV series, they've had time to like evolve the story that the Atwood was trying to put together. And even though I don't like the TV series, I at least got to give it more credit than this movie does. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on this movie. It's not a very good movie. I would definitely say just watch the TV series. It's a lot better than this movie ever was, but that's just my theory. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but me and Ricky are going swimming.
All their lives, they stood by what they believed in. Friends, family. But most of all, the law.
Beat inspectors!
They were LA's finest. Nothing could break up this team. Until they got too close to a case no cop was supposed to solve.
We went in without a backup, without a warrant, without probable cause. We're talking major drug money here.
First, they lost a friend.
I don't want it to be different.
You have been charged with the fatality of Officer Howard Jones.
I resign. That's really what you want, isn't it?
Then they lost their badges.
What do you think? The department is going to go after Hojo's killer? What the hell do you think that FBI guy was doing at Frank's hearing?
No badges.
I mean, with $22 million, we could buy our own country.
This is the money that killed Howard.
No backup.
Well, if we take this money, we're no better than they are.
There's no backing down.
For the last of the finest.
You know, Brian Dennehy did so many movies for TV, like on NBC and CBS around this time, that if you'd honestly put this on TV and made it as a made-for-TV movie, I don't think anybody would really tell the difference. But because it's on a big screen, we got to talk about it. And yeah, there's just really nothing there. It's just a bland movie that seems like it was made for television. Somebody at a major studio thought there was potential for it to be a big blockbuster, and they just put it up on the big screen, and it's just, there's just nothing there. It's got a good cast to it. Brian Dennehy, as I mentioned, Joe Pantoliano, Jeff Fahey, who would later be in The Lawnmower Man, Bill Paxton, Xander Berkeley from 24, but other than that, though, there really isn't a whole lot there with the story. It's one of the dullest thrillers you could possibly have. It's boring. There's nothing really all that exciting about it, and you can easily predict how it's going to end up. Like, there's no real surprise in this movie whatsoever. Like, you can pinpoint every single detail that's going to happen, and it just doesn't work. It's a mediocre movie. It's a flop of a film. Why they put this on the big screen, I don't know, but that's my thoughts on The Last of the Finest. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Coupe de Ville.
Marvin, pick up Coupe de Ville, 159 North Street, Detroit, on June 11th. Stop.
He didn't mention anything about you. He didn't mention you either.
Proceed directly to Florida for Mother's 50th birthday on Sunday. Stop.
Hey, Marvin. How you doing?
Marge, throw your stuff in the bag.
Okay, Marvin. Way to say hi.
All right, which one of you boys in charge here?
He is.
Mo, Larry, and Curly. Read your bonies.
Yeah, despite another good cast, this is another pretty dull movie. I mean, it's basically three brothers being asked by their father to drive a Cadillac from 1954 from Detroit to Miami. That's the movie. Why am I watching this? I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why they made this into a film. It's got a great cast again. Patrick Dempsey, Ari Gross, Daniel Stern. Fun fact, Ari Gross was actually supposed to be the narrator for the Wonder Years pilot episode, but Daniel Stern replaced him, and he would later do that for the rest of the series, so it's kind of weird to have not weird, but it's interesting to have both of them in this same movie. But other than that, though, there's just really nothing here with this movie. I mean, what's the point? What's the outcome of this? What am I supposed to get from this? That this really couldn't have been just another TV movie of the week, because that's pretty much what it is. Like, if you replaced some of the talent that's in here and replaced them with other actors, this would have been something you could have watched on HBO or NBC or the ABC Movie of the Week, that type of stuff. But, yeah, just not a very good movie. So, that's Coupe de Ville. Let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is Roger Corman's Body Chemistry.
This is when it's the purest, when it's just sex.
Body chemistry. An erotic journey into the sexual danger zone. What are you doing?
It's just part of the game.
This can't go on. Oh my God, my wife.
Why don't I call her over? What, are you crazy? Some men say no and they really mean yes.
How do I get rid of you?
Why don't I tell your wife? Get out! Accept it, it's over! It's not over!
Mark Singer, Mary Crosby, in an erotic thriller. Body chemistry.
Because Fatal Attraction was such a big hit, why not? I mean, this is based off of this movie's main character is actually based off Glenn Close's character from Fatal Attraction, and there's just nothing nothing here. It's just a generic erotic thriller, but not even a good generic erotic thriller. And the worst part about this is they made 4 of these movies, and I just don't get it. Like, did this first movie really leave that much of an impact where they said they have to make another one and another one and another one? Or were they just so cheap they just kept making them regardless? I mean, it's Roger Corman. It wouldn't surprise me if that was his thing. But yeah, there's just nothing here with this movie. I mean, I'm telling people that erotic thrillers can sometimes be really engaging and intriguing. Basic Instinct, for example, is probably one of the best erotic thrillers ever made, at least in my opinion. But we'll get to that one when we get to that one. But this is everything you expect from a cliched, riddled erotic thriller. Nothing exciting, nothing engaging, just crap. That's the best way to describe it, just crap.
Miles from civilization. No sign of rescue.
It doesn't matter who's in charge. We've just got to work together. A plane goes down in the middle of the ocean. There's no wreckage. Who's going to find us?
They will discover more than they ever imagined. More freedom than they have ever known.
Why isn't anybody getting food or wood? Man, you gotta stop worrying so much. We got it made. No parents, no teachers, no academy.
More power than they ever realized.
I'm gonna make another camp for hunters. You guys wanna have a little fun? We've gotta work together. We've gotta take care of ourselves. What's that supposed to mean? What it means, Colonel, is that if you know it's good for you, you'll stop trying to run everything. Come on, hunters!
More fear than they ever dreamed.
There's something loose on this island.
We did everything just the way grown-ups would have. Kill it! Why didn't it work?
Lord of the Flies.
You know, funny enough, I read Lord of the Flies in high school, and we saw this movie. We also saw the first episode of Lost for some reason. I guess because it takes place on an island, but we also saw the Simpsons episode of where Bart and the kids get stranded on a deserted island. Is it really interesting to say that that episode of The Simpsons is probably the best adaptation of Lord of the Flies we've gotten so far? Not that this movie was terrible, it was just... The casting, I think, works very well for this. I just don't think they really got the central motivation of the book completely down. It felt like a movie that was just trying to cash in on the success of this book that's been around for so many years. But it is a decently made movie. I do like that they got most of the ideas and most of the innovation, most of what the book was trying to do down. There's still a lot of key elements that I think they completely missed out on. But it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie, but I think it could be done a lot better. I do like that this movie doesn't take any safe way out. It just shows you the cold, hard reality of what is the situation, where even the most sadist person in the movie goes crazy by the end of it. It's a really bizarre. I mean, bizarre is not the word to say it. It just feels right with what they're trying to say here. Like I said, I think they could do it a lot better. I'm actually surprised they haven't tried to remake this as a movie since then, but maybe it could be something done. Like, maybe if you get a good director, maybe if you get some good kid actors, you could probably make this work in modern times. Maybe even make a mini-series or so, but... I mean, here's my thing. It's an okay movie, but I feel like it could be a lot better. If I'm saying The Simpsons did a better Lord of the Flies adaptation than this, that's not saying a good thing about this, a whole lot about this movie. But the movie itself is not terrible. I just wanted something better. I do like the kid actors in this. I do like the visuals. I do like that it doesn't pull any tricks out of you. It just gives you the cold, hard truth of the situation. And it's an okay movie. Bottom line, it's an okay movie, but I feel like it could have been a whole lot better. So, on to the next movie. Jamie Lee Curtis in Blue Steel.
I think you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Why would you want to become a cop? I like to slam people's heads up against walls.
Jamie Lee Curtis is a cop with a problem.
Drop it! On the floor! Put the gun down now!
24 hours on the force and she's already blown some poor slob's face off.
No gun found at the scene, officer. Turning nothing on the victim.
The men on the force won't believe her.
It was there. I saw it.
The man at her side can't help her.
I think somebody out there likes you.
And the man in her arms is the killer.
We have to stop him.
It's the greatest kick of all.
Blue Steel.
By the way, I'm chewing gum, so if you see something green in my mouth, it's gum right there, so I should have said that at the beginning of the video. But let's get back to the focus here. Blue Steel, directed by Catherine Bigelow, produced by Oliver Stone. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it, Ron Silver. It's funny because somebody was actually comparing this to Halloween, kind of, because it's basically Halloween if Laurie Strode ended up dating Michael Myers, because that's kind of what happens in this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis plays a cop, and her boyfriend, Rod Silver, turns out to be the killer, and he doesn't know, and he's a serial killer. And, it makes for a pretty interesting movie. One that I would have never ever compared to Halloween, because it's basically a cop thriller, but a pretty decent cop thriller, I gotta say. It's a movie that works for what it is. It works with the acting that they have. Catherine Bigelow's a pretty good action director. Rod Silver's really good. You got Clancy Brown, Louise Fletcher, Elizabeth Pena. It's a really good movie. It's one that I don't think a lot of people really know about, but if you haven't seen Blue Steel, I highly recommend checking it out. It's actually a very underrated cop thriller. It's not a generic cop thriller, but it's a really good cop thriller. It's one that I don't think a lot of people really talk about all that much. So that's Blue Steel for you. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, which is Lambada.
It's the rhythm of romance. It's the danger of desire.
Can't you feel the heat under your feet? We got this war burning. We got this war burning. If you're gonna go fishing, you've got to have the right bait.
A teacher, his student, and the dance that changed their lives and tore a school apart. Exotic, erotic, lose yourself in the heat.
This is the 90s, man. Chicks got a right to choose.
Go all the way. Lambada.
Now, normally I don't usually do this, but I'm going to show you the trailer for the next movie that came out, which is pretty much the same movie as Lambada, except not as good. It's literally the same movie about the Lambada, but it has a different title. It's called The Forbidden Dance.
Jungles of the Amazon to the heart of America. Only one dance can turn feeling into rhythm. Strangers into lovers. Passion into fury.
She is hot.
The romance behind the dance. The danger behind the beat. The magic behind the music.
The Forbidden Dance, Lambada.
Passion has a rhythm all its own. The Forbidden Dance.
That's right. Canon Pictures, Warner Brothers, and Canon Globus put out two different movies with the same premise, the same dance as the main focus, and yet Lambada is still probably the best of the two. I mean, it's the one that I think still has the most memorability to it. It's a guilty pleasure movie, a very silly guilty pleasure movie, and it's just a ton of fun, man. Like, it's really one of those ridiculous movies. And this is made by the same people who made Breaking and Breaking 2 that did this movie. Joel Silberg, the director, and then the director of The Forbidden Dance was Graydon Clark, who also did stuff like Without Warning in 1980, Final Justice, Skinheads, High Riders, Satan's Cheerleaders. And, yeah, needless to say, The Forbidden Dance was not a very good movie, even though it had Laura Harring in it. But I'm sorry, but Laura Harring, man, from Lambada. I mean, the first time I ever saw her was on The Office, and she was pretty good looking for a woman in her, I guess she was in her 40s or 50s, not 50s. Let me just double check real quick. She's now in her 50s, but when The Office was on, she was in her 40s. But in 1990, she was really good looking. I mean, she's not only a good looking actress, she's a really good actress. I've seen her in a lot of stuff I've really liked, and she's a pretty damn good singer too. I've heard her sing on various songs before, and she's actually not half bad. You also got Shabadoo from the Breaking films, J. Eddie Peck, and what dance movie could you say ends with a computer competition, and at the end of it? In fact, does it even end with a computer competition? I just thought about that for a second. Hold on. I haven't seen this movie in a long time. It's actually a trigonometry bee, and it's just like, it's so stupid, but for this type of a movie, you kind of get involved with it. You kind of just go along with the flow, and It's just a ton of fun. Lambada is something that knows it's silly, knows it's completely ridiculous, but it knows it knows it's being over the top. Toy boat. But yeah, it knows it's being over the top. The Forbidden Dance just felt like a movie that it was trying to take itself a little too seriously, and just suffered miserably because of it. And just researching these movies, apparently Globus, the owner of Canon Globus, was also an executive producer on Lambada too. So he made two movies. These two movies came out on the same day. What is Lambada with J.A.D. Peck and Laura Harn was the best of the two, and then you had the Forbidden Dance. What a time to be alive! I mean. So that's my double review of Lambada and the Forbidden Dance. Now let's go to the middle of that pack and take a look at another movie that's over the top, but overall a pretty badass movie, and that is Rutger Hauer in Blind Fury.
Nick Parker is quick as a snake, strong as a bull, not to mention blind as a bat.
Nice doggy.
What's your problem? You blind?
Yeah.
Holy shit. He came for a friendly visit.
Step aside, blind man.
But his timing was a little off. Now, a young boy wants his guidance.
Did you ever cry?
A strong man is never afraid to cry. They've got him, don't they? Where's my son?
He's here. He's fine.
And the boy's father needs his help.
Now, if you want to keep him that way...
Unreasonable men make life so difficult.
Shoot. The blind Zorro. If you can't handle it, get me somebody that can. Get me Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee is dead.
Then get his brother.
Rutger Hauer.
I also do circumcision.
Blind Fury.
I have no idea if this was intended to be an American remake of the Itachi series, Itachi the Blind Swordsman, but you talk about another movie that's so over the top and knows it's over the top, but still wants to entertain you, and I'll be damned if it doesn't, because Rutger Hauer is a ton of fun in this movie. I love how silly this movie is. It knows it's silly, it knows it's action-packed, over-the-top, 90s cheese, and I loved every single moment of it. I love how ridiculous it gets. I love how silly it gets. The villain of the movie, Randall Tex Cobb, is amazing in this. Rutger Hauer is great as the blind swordsman. It's just so ridiculously stupid, but it's a ton of fun at the same time. There are moments in here where you will laugh out loud at how ridiculously over-the-top something is, from people getting shot, the way people get killed, to watching the bad guy getting split in half, and then this Who Framed Roger Rabbit-esque matte background of this mountain with the villain falling, and then slowly but surely the half that got cut off is just split apart. It's just one of the funniest things you will ever see. It's so ridiculous. It's so stupid, but goddamn, I love every single moment of it. Blind Fury, man. If you haven't seen this movie, I can't recommend it enough. Definitely check it out. So, on to the last movie, and that is Nuns on the Run.
Sister in Violata of the Immaculate Conception. Wanted. Sister Euphemia of the 5 Wounds.
5 wounds, for short.
These women are dangerous. These women are desperate. These women are men. Eric Idle and Robbie Coltrane.
This is our only chance to go straight. You call this going straight?
Nuns on the Run, rated PG-13. Coming soon to a theater near you.
So basically, it's Where No Angels meets Sister Act. I mean, you can pretty much see where No Angels can come into play here, and also how Sister Act got a lot of its inspiration from this movie. But, I don't know, I kind of enjoyed it. It's Jonathan Lind, who also did My Cousin Vinny. You got Eric Idle and Robbie Coltrane. They're very funny actors, and they make something as kind of ridiculous and generic and silly as this is, and they have fun with it. It's a movie that it's not going to be something I'd want to watch over and over again, but I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad that Eric Idle and Robbie Coltrane got a chance to work off each other and make something really as hilarious as this movie. Really as hilarious as this movie is, because it really is a funny movie. Like, I got a lot more enjoyment out of it than I probably would have expected from it. Plus, it's got a good soundtrack, too. You got George Harrison, Steve Winwood's role with it. Just a great soundtrack for a pretty decent movie. I'd say definitely check it out, too, if you get a chance to.
Stone Pictures presents the story of a date.
Wow. This isn't a date, it's business.
That led to a deal.
I'd like you to spend a week with me. Be at my beck and call.
What's it gonna cost you?
That's becoming a dream come true.
He wants me to stay the whole week.
Is he twisted?
They're two people with nothing in common.
Give her your gum. I don't believe you did that.
Having the wildest week of their lives. Richard Gere, Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman. Now playing at a theater near you. Check newspapers for showtimes.
Would you believe it was actually hard to find a trailer that didn't have the Pretty Woman song in there by Roy Orbison? Good marketing campaign, but trying to look for a trailer on YouTube, trying to avoid copyright claims, it wasn't easy, but it wasn't hard either. I was able to find at least that TV spot there, so... Pretty Woman, what more can you say about this movie that hasn't already been said already? Richard Gere, Julia Roberts... It's a fun little comedy. It's a fun comedy. Gere and Roberts, they just have this great chemistry, working off each other so well. Julia Roberts is a ton of fun in this. This is the movie that broke her out as a star. Even though she did have an Academy Award nomination the year prior to this with Steel Magnolias, this was actually the movie that launched her into superstardom, because every movie that she would do after this point made money. Like, there was a stretch where she was actually one of the biggest box office stars in the country at the time. But yeah, what can I say about this movie that hasn't already been said already? It's a fun romantic comedy. It's a little formulaic at times. It can be a little generic, a little predictable, but it is what it is. It knows what it's trying to be. It's not trying to be something so groundbreaking or so inventive or amazing, but it is still a ton of fun. And really, it was one of the biggest hits of 1990. There's going to be a ton of movies that we'll look at that just stuck around for the longest time, with the biggest release of the year, the biggest comedy of all time. We'll get to when we get to November, and I think you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Pretty Woman, fun little comedy. Not really. I don't think it's one of the greatest romantic comedies of all time. I think I've seen a lot better ones, but it's a ton of fun. You got a great cast here. Gary Marshall, this is him at his best, and yeah, Pretty Woman. What more can you say? But Pretty Woman. Now on to a different kind of comedy, Michael Caine starring in Shock to the System.
Graham Marshall was having a bad day.
Graham?
What?
What is the matter with you tonight?
A bad job.
There is a man in my office.
A bad marriage.
I forgive you for failing.
Now he just killed to have a good time.
Yay!
Michael Caine, Elizabeth McGovern, and Peter Riegert.
We mustn't let a little thing like this ruin our evening.
A shock to the system.
One of the many, many dark black comedies we got during this time period, and most of them were not very good, but then you had some that were actually really good, like War of the Roses, and Shock to the System is kind of in the middle. It's a fun movie. If you've ever seen American Psycho, Michael Caine's character definitely has a lot of Patrick Bateman vibes in this movie. It doesn't go as completely insane as American Psycho did, but it's a ton of fun. I like Michael Caine playing this sadistic asshole. And a sadistic villain, kind of, antagonist, if you want to say, but yeah, it's a fun movie. It's a fun, dark, black comedy that a lot of people really don't talk about all that much, but it's a really good movie. It's got a great cast: Elizabeth McGovern, Peter Riegert, Susie Kurtz, Jenny Wright, and it knows what it's trying to be. It can be as dark as it wants to be. It doesn't go to the insane levels of some other comedies like War of the Roses, but it's fun for what it is. It's actually it's a pretty fun movie. I don't think a lot of people really talk about it, but they definitely should check this one out. If you like Michael Caine movies and want to see him in one of his best underrated performances, A Shock to the System is definitely that movie for you. So let's go to move on to the last movie, and that is The Fourth War.
Somewhere in Eastern Europe, a battle is about to begin. It's not East versus West.
Look, the fact are making a run for it.
Nor us against them.
Wilson!
It's two proud heroes
with no one left to fight but each other.
It's different now, Jack. Things have changed, and you better change too.
I've learned to play on the white keys and the black keys. Now I'm expected to play in the cracks.
Colonel Knowles crossed that border because he was looking to get even.
Drop him. My name is Jack Knowles. You'll remember that. Report this to your Colonel Balachev.
Men of war. In a time of peace.
Good evening. You come over the border one more time. I, personally, will kill you.
I will not tolerate two malcontents who think they have the right to start their own private little grudge war when the rest of us are in danger of being turned into French fries.
They're fighting for the only thing they have left to believe in. Themselves. Roy Scheider, Jürgen Prochnow, in a John Frankenheimer film, The Fourth War.
So is this kind of like what Peter said on Family Guy, that World War IV was going to be so intense that World War III is not going to matter? Although he technically did say 5, and we technically still haven't had a World War III, even though what's going on in Russia and Ukraine at the time of this recording is kind of getting to that point. But that's 22 years from when this movie came out. We have the Fourth War here. I guess maybe the Third War was Vietnam, and this is the Cold War, I guess, because this takes place in the 1980s. I don't know. The Fourth War with Roy Scheider, Jürgen Prochnow. I don't even know if I pronounced that name right, but yeah, we have this movie. John Frankenheimer directed it, based off of a concept that came from a quote by Albert Einstein, who said, "I know not what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." And I guess that was an idea for a movie, and it makes for a pretty good movie too. It's one that maybe it's because it's Canon Films, people automatically assume it's going to be either a really bad movie or a cheesy fun movie. But this is actually not a bad movie for them. It's one of the few movies that Canon Films did that was actually kind of really good. Like, you'd have something like Delta Force or Runaway Train, and now you have this movie. And it's actually really good. It's got a really good cast to it. Scheider and Prochnow, Tim Reed from Frank's Place at the time, Harry Dean Stanton, Dale Dye, Laura Harris. It's shot beautifully. It's got a soundtrack by Bill Conti, the guy who did the score for Rocky, and it's John Frankenheimer. John Frankenheimer doesn't usually do as bad as he could have, as he's done with the movies that he's made. He's made very few bad movies, in my opinion. But when he makes a bad movie, it's a pretty bad movie. But this is actually not one of his bad movies. It's actually one of his better movies. It's one of those movies where it's just like an interesting psychological character study of these two guys just getting ready to go after each other. Some of the lines of dialogue here are feel a little dumbed down, if you want to call it that. Like there are lines in here that are just like, okay, you dumb this down so you can appeal to your typical audience, but this is a decent thriller. It's a movie it's once again another movie that I'd say if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's definitely worth watching. The Fourth War from Roy Scheider and Jürgen Prochnow, and directed by John Frankenheimer.
Our family grows. The city itself will be our playground to use as we please. Rewarding ourselves and punishing our enemies.
We've been looking for you, Miss O'Neill.
There is a new enemy. Freaks of nature. Together, we will punish these traitors.
What the heck was that? Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat.
Excellent!
So naturally, we kids in the 90s ate this shit up, and we loved every single moment of it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, what really can you say? It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in live action with Jim Henson's puppet shop, the Creature Shop. And it's a pretty damn good movie. It's a movie that still holds up to this very day. It's a faithful adaptation to not only the TV series, but also the comic books as well. But it's just a great movie overall. It's a movie that still holds up to this very day. The performances are still very good. It knows what the kids want, but it also knows when to take its time. It's like it knows when to take a break, let the emotions play a part in the movie. Because there are a lot of heavy moments in this movie, more than I think anybody would have ever expected from something called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it's a wonderful movie. It's just a great movie that still holds up. If you love the Ninja Turtles, you can see this movie and be like, this still holds up on so many levels. What a lot of people don't really talk about this movie is how it was also an independent film, too. For the longest time, they didn't have anybody backing the movie up. They just had an independent budget on their own. They took this to Disney. They didn't want it. Columbia Pictures didn't want it. MGM didn't want it. Neither did Orion. Paramount, who had actually later acquired the Turtles franchise, and Warner Brothers, which still holds the rights to this movie as of today. But New Line Cinema, which eventually got sold into Warner Brothers, decided to take a chance on it because they were just a small independent company, even though they produced the Friday the 13th... Not Friday the 13th. They would get the Friday the 13th movies after Paramount let it go. But they produced the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and this movie just really took them to another level. They were in the middle of production, and they went into this without a studio to back them up. And so the fact that this made as much money as it did, it was the highest grossing independent movie for a long time. Like, I think not until the Blair Witch Project near the end of the decade did that record get surpassed. But yeah, it's an interesting story on how this movie got made and how it became an independent film at first and then became a studio film towards the end of its production, and how it really shaped most of the family comedies and movies that we'd see in the 1990s. We'll see several movies like that. We already saw Pretty Woman last week, and then we'll have Ghost and Home Alone coming up in this year as well. But like I said, Ninja Turtles is just a ton of fun. This first movie is just a classic movie. It still holds up to this very day. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie that takes a lot of chances, takes a lot of risk, and most of it does pay off. There are silly moments in here, but those are right from the TV series or right from the comic books. There are serious moments, but that's right from the comic books. It's just a movie that just... You could tell the people who made this movie knew the source material, knew what they wanted to do, and it just worked. It just worked on so many levels, like that a movie like Masters of the Universe years prior just didn't have the opportunity to do. So, anyway, yeah, that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one. Still the best movie of the original series, maybe the best movie in the Turtles franchise, but we'll get to the other ones when we get to the other ones. So that's my thoughts on Ninja Turtles. Let's go ahead and move on to the second movie. It was Dana Carvey's feature film leading debut, and that is Opportunity Knocks.
Eddie Farrell is an entrepreneur.
Hello! Greetings, my name is Douglas.
A Wall Street wizard.
You got that sideways. There you go.
A diplomat.
Oh, Tearai wa doko desu ka? Ii saga da. Hanokasei. Hari, hari go, hari, hari, ron, hari, hari, hari. Oh,
a gourmet.
Yeah, I'll have this one right here.
Excuse me, but that is the address of the wine distributor.
A master of disguise.
No, nobody here. They let me stay because I am leper.
Bob Marley, Lakeshore Utility. We've got a Class A level gas leak in the neighborhood.
He's a con man.
Why do they have our television?
Just stop this preview right now. This is the church lady speaking. I urge you not to see this motion picture. It's just chock full of young ladies in sleeveless blouses and long, slow, delicious close-ups of tight-bodied actors. But let's talk about the star of this film. Who could he really be? I can't imagine who. Could he be...
Hi, my name's Dana Carvey. I recently made a motion picture called Opportunity Knocks, and
No burn in hell.
it's one of those rare films where 1 minute you're laughing and then
This is not special.
suddenly you find yourself wiping a tear. Now, I can't say it's a film for the entire family, but I got a sneaky suspicion that a lot of you folks...
Saturday Night Live's Dana Carvey in Opportunity Knocks.
I mean, if you have to resort to using the church lady to promote your movie, chances are the movie itself is not very good. And Dana Carvey, outside of Wayne's World, his track record in terms of movies he makes is not as strong. In fact, some might say it's downright terrible with stuff like this movie, Clean Slate, and The Master of Disguise. But, the movie just looked like a low-rent Fletch. I mean, this looked like a movie that was trying to be like Fletch, except they didn't have the costumes and all that kind of stuff that would later become something in Dana Carvey's other movie, Master of Disguise. In fact, they even mentioned that in this trailer. Not a coincidence, but... or maybe it is, I don't know. Conspiracy theory time. Anyway. Opportunity Knocks, it was just a generic comedy. It didn't really do that much for me. It's one of those movies, like I said, it felt like a cheaper version of Fletch. Like they didn't have the money for the costumes or the makeup or anything, so they just said, just do impressions, Dana Carvey, and that'll be the whole movie. And it just didn't work. It was a movie that just didn't work. Quickly forgotten. It's a movie that not a lot of people even talk about, but there's probably a good reason why. So, quick review, but Opportunity Knocks is not a very good movie, so opportunity denied. I don't even know why I did that.